I'm going to do a video series on just concepts of room correction and what we're correcting, and specifically in cars, and this is how it goes for most people. So this is not actually any particular frequency versus magnitude graph. This is an imaginary frequency versus magnitude graph with about 20 points with just a random series of numbers. So imagine this represents any range of frequencies to the point. So what we do is we measure, in a traditional sense, we measure with a microphone, either in a static position where you're listening from, or with spatial averaging from around where you're listening from. People would then create a set of EQ filters. So we're looking at microphone right, and now we're looking at a correction for microphone right. So anywhere where there's a deficiency we want to add, anywhere there's too much we want to take, and anywhere where there's just enough we'll just leave it as it is. And then the result of this EQ correction to the response measured will be a flat line. So result on the right, desired, what the microphone told us, and the correction we fed in. So that's all very well and good. Now in a car, the listening position is slightly to one side of a symmetrical room. So we're very loosely using the terminology and methodology of room correction, but we are sitting asymmetrically in a very small room with a very high amount of room influence. So what happens now in a traditional sense is we all go about measuring a pair of responses. One is to the far side speaker group and one is to a close side speaker group in a totally different geometry with surfaces at different distances and angles. And this is a very random hypothetical left-right magnitude measurement. So we have microphone left in red and microphone right in blue. And then we'd actually go about trying to correct both of them to get to a flat line. And to do that, we'd have to look at both sets of EQ curves that we would have had to have done to get there. Now this is the hypothetical corrections for mic left and mic right, which in some cases are taking out a lot and adding a lot. Sometimes they're doing the same thing. And that's kind of because the influence of the cabin and geometry of the car from these two different angular locations means that our two sets of corrections are never ever going to be the same. A shorty. Now, the red pill in all of this, I think it's a Matrix reference. Red pill is the blue one puts you back to sleep. Red one wakes you up. What I believe the microphone is hearing is not just this line of bumps and wiggles that is all of the sound hitting the microphone capsule from all directions, but there is an amount of energy coming straight from the speaker called the direct sound. Now in a big empty room with lots of absorbent surfaces, or perhaps anechoic chamber, this microphone would only measure this, and then you could look at the frequency response of your speaker. But in a car, in a small room, we get a lot of room. And the thing is, we can only get this one measurement out of a microphone, and you can never get this measurement in a car. So I've been working on systems where we can find out a little bit more about this, and even if we can't find out a little bit more about this, we can at least set about some conditions where we can treat our left side speaker group and our right side speaker group in the same way, so that we can then go about editing our speakers. What else can I say about this page? Yeah, so I've got the theoretical room response and the theoretical direct right response, and the microphone response is the addition of both. So that yellow line is the only thing we can see on an RTA graph, but contained within that cake that's already been baked is all of the ingredients, so the two ingredients below. So we have to go about imagining that there's our DIY speaker system from our left side and the right side that has magnitude differences, the blue and the red, also has phase differences, timing differences, and things we need to correct. And if we could find an imaginary correction here, the yellow line, it's not imaginary, I've actually done this in practice, make a correction for the left side speakers and the right side speakers so that they become the same straight line. Just imagine this grey one. And that is where you get amazing depth and amazing imagery and amazing reverb details by knowing that you, as a human, can locate the speaker groups because you can sense them and you don't actually hear the room so much. And I only believed this after I did it. And hopefully in more of these videos, I can try and maybe get some real data where I can somehow remove the room from our measurements and try and show you the direct left and right. It's only something you can do in person, really, to hear it when you've done this mid-cabin measurement where you've equalized the pollution, so the pollution is no longer a factor. And there have been other people who have done it and said it's the best imaging they've achieved so far. So we'll just leave it there and see how we go with some real data. Yeah, so the important crux of the end of that last section of video was meant to be me saying, well, this is what your microphone told you in red, and this is what the EQ told you to do in orange. And deep down, this was the blue hiding in your red response. Now, if you actually get those two sets of data, the EQ correction on the direct, you end up with the blue being tortured and turned into this green line. So you've got this blue line, which was kind of getting there, guys, and then you added this correction for the wacky room. Here I'm bashing room correction mics already. But yeah, so you're kind of destroying direct sound purity by just believing in, well, I must have the whole sound from this microphone and I must correct it to the other side of the system. So you started off somewhere where they were, a few dBs apart, and then you ended up making a bit further apart. So, and I'll bid you adieu once more.